Hello, my name is Dylan Sparrow, and you are listening to FGM. Relax your acoustic meatus and lay supine before the glorious sounds of 1986 in the Nintendosphere, a pivotal year for some, a day of infamy for others. Thank you for joining us on Level 2 of FGM Foreground Music with your host, Dylan Sparrow. Now, we're gonna go deep.
When you get hold of the Nintendo Entertainment System. When you master Rob the video robot. And meet the challenge of Gyromite.
Yes, you're gonna make me come.
When you shoot the light-sensing zapper.
Fuck off, it felt so
When you
hard.
play the system with the most arcade hits, you're playing with power. The Nintendo Entertainment System. Now you're playing with power.
Oh, fuck yes.
Playing with power. You know, I've been thinking about the nature of power play recently. When you've got a fistful of nails and a caboose crammed with dreams, or, you know, maybe you have a glass traffic cone with a Teflon beard floating around in there somewhere. And you tell your sub to reread Chapter 7, you know, just for the god of it all. The absolute god of it all. Not the Lord of all, mind you. We won't get into that until much later. But when you get to that little basketball hoop at the end of Southeast Blaine Street, you know you're going in the right direction. You'll see some metal pegs, you know, they're about 2 feet tall, symmetrically lined up next to 2 street-mounted trash cans. And the left peg has a genome sequence pasted to it. So I want you to do this. You're going to eat it, and you're going to run to the next camera. East, you'll see a very narrow archway that winds around the parameter, but walk any farther and you'll be smack dab in the middle of a traffic intersection. Across the way, there's a 22-story citrus building with your name on it. Go up there, talk to the lobbyist, get him to phone the legislator, get that legislator to come down to the lobby, and presto! Free parking with every breath. Aside from a crushed cigarette and an empty salt packet, you'll also see a miniature steam stack surrounded by construction hurdles and Horizon Manufacturing traffic safety service bags. Eat it all. Once you've eaten it, you will start to see everything. The trees, the flowers, the opposite sex, the whole shebang.
Chuck D is, of course, male and female DNA mixed. Not a real person, has been dead since the early 80s.
Now it's time to talk to the monument. There will be 2 swabs on either side of the entrance to this circular pedestal. In each swab is a bulb, and in each bulb is a filament. They'll look a bit like gray beehives with Frankenstein bolts in them. Take those, then leave the circle and find the flower pot with the green daffodils. If you can't find it, ask the shadow puppet for help. Now you'll hear a chirp. I want you to look up and try to identify its exact location. This is extremely important. If you're lucky, you'll see a small bird, I guess they call them peregrine falcons. You'll find a peregrine falcon nesting in an exhaust hole in the swab. Right, it's kind of like a little bit below the black surveillance camera. So eat it, move to the next sector. Now you have 3 choices. You can go back to the building and attempt to retcon your original agreement with the chaps there, which, if successful, would place you on a no-fly list for at least 3 weeks. So your second option, it's a little more risque here. Your second option is to work for a respectable company, let's say like Stuart Weitzman or Sephora or J.Crew, one of those kinds of companies. Now, this path is exceedingly dangerous, but I would argue it presents the most palpable of short-term rewards. I mean, for instance, your bank account would just fucking explode. So then there's the third and final option. You will see the letters T and S engraved in the leg frame of the cardinal arrow to the south, and if you dial 908... 561-4800 It will give you a bevy of sewers, at least 2 of them in fact, all shapes and colors and sizes. Sewers for BBW, sewers for anorexics, sewers for you and me. It'll be like the united colors of black and tan down there. RSC 200Q85 installed on July 21st, 2004. Just a few yards from the Time Warner Center. You'll see that the arches end there, giving way to a blockade of stop signs and a pile of buses, mostly M5s. Some M7s, yeah, M5s, M7s, there's a smattering of M10s, 1 or 2 M20s, and a completely dismembered 104. Eat it or lose, it's your choice. Now, the last thing that I want to impress upon you, dear listener, is that if you find a peg with the United States Postal Service sticker on it, beware the large children entering the West Loop. If the ventricles clock in below 120 pulsations per minute, you're probably in the clear. It is panoramic, and it is kind of semi-3D, I guess. And it's coming out of an embedded bronze tablet, so you can't miss it. Now, folks, I'd like to tell you what I'm drinking. It's about a drink that I'm drinking. Portland, Maine Peeper Ale. Portland, Maine Peeper Ale. Flavor. It's got it's got flavor. It's got recalcitrant, almost shameless flavor, I would say. A bit stiff in the cavity, really, but... what's the good in being so stoic and so helpless and so freedom-enhanced and beautiful if no one gets capped, you know what I'm saying? So we brought some guns here. Assorted Glocks, Tech 9s, pieces, even some, got some 12 gauges here. Those being, we brought this country from the motherland, I hate to put it that way, but not just in order to show the conquistadors who's boss, but also to celebrate our cultural diversity. The ones in Africa and... Africa and Nigeria and so forth, escaped over the British. They did it once in 1889 and then another time in 1990. And, Judgment Day is coming. Judgment Day is kind of coming, sort of, eventually. Just look at the one runway slave. The runway slave! The one who was awarded the Hamburg Negro Trophy last year. Remember that guy? Or I think he was a guy. A long time ago, he got a summer house and... Fuck, it took 10 years to find that guy. He never Hamza. Large summer house that it took years to find this guy. He never said it would Hittites. Caucasian Hittites played by Sigourney Weaver. He never said he was going anywhere. At the same time, he got off coughing stark and pulpy. The fattest rubber duck in the world ain't enough for 87 tokens. And now back to the Famicom music. This legend, the world in which we live now, is the story of a different world. Fairyland is a beautiful, peaceful kingdom of green. The human and fairy coexist with each other in this world and live in harmony while helping each other. I guess you could say the humans... evolved on the issue. So basically, that's all there is to it. Here's Hydlide!
すぐ出るぞ。
驚異のハイパワー、ファミコン用カセットゲゲゲの鬼太郎。
タイトー影の伝説新発売。行け！
大人気マイティボンジャック。
新しい伝説が生まれようとしている。エニックス。
We are back. You're listening to FGM Foreground Music with your host, Dylan Sparrow. What does FGM stand for? Don't ask Google. You just heard from the game Dragon Quest, otherwise known as Wagon Courier, composed by the imitable Mr. Koichi Sugiyama. This game was a product of the Enix Corporation and was released on May 27th of 1986. Now, there is an abundance of information on Dragon Quest and its attending Sugiyama-penned soundtracks out there, but very few people know the game's true origins. Well, I got the skinny for you guys. You can't get this anywhere else. I remember interviewing Yuji Horii for a, I don't know if you remember, a short-lived lifestyle magazine called Executive for Men. This was many years ago. I think it was like 82 or 83. And so Mr. Horii told me that he created Dragon Quest during the Japanese general election that was happening around that time. And so, you know, he'd be walking home from his job at the Enix factory, and there'd be always these kids on the street. And when I say kids, you know, I mean like fresh out of grade school kids, campaigning for, you know, whatever group of schmoes were running at the time. So he'd be strolling along, you know, listening to some Beethoven on his Walkman. All of a sudden, you know, a kid would just jump out and interrupt his flow to tell him about how the, you know, the Justice Party is better than the Liberal Democratic Party, or how much better Hideo Den is than Takako Doi. And, you know, every time he got accosted by one of these little underemployed zealots, he'd have to stop what he was doing, and then he'd have to decide whether to indulge in the bugger or run away. And really, that was the germ of the whole random encounter. Just going on a jaunt through the countryside with your relaxing background music, and all of a sudden... Would you like to donate to PETA? Would you like to save the slack-jawed jackanapes of southern Malaysia? Can you help my foosball team buy enough custom fedoras? Whatever the cause, you have to make a decision. Now, if you're a New Yorker like me, you realize that it's usually a good idea to avoid these confrontations. I mean, have you ever tried grinding your way through Times Square? That's just murder. You don't even get that much experience from it either. Before that, on April 26th, the game Spy vs. Spy with CMU sequenced music by the once mysterious Hiroyuki Masuno. Kind of hard to remain a man of mystery in this day and age, what with the NSA cached browser histories and loose lips aplenty, but hey, I've got nothing to hide. Outside of, I don't know, maybe a few poorly understood paraphilias and maybe a few unsent death threats, so spy away, Kemco, spy away. Developed by First Star, empowering foster youth through education. Prior to that, Gradius. Or I say Gradius because I'm a Yank, but also because it sounds more like some kind of restorative men's hair dye. Baby steps, people. Gradius was composed by Miki Higashino of Teruzuka, brought to us by Konami. Mighty Bomb Jack before that. This game was composed by Fujioka Shigunma's own Michiharu Hasuya for Tecmo, apparently completing a job started by Tsukasa Musuko before he skipped town. April 18th gave us The Legend of Kaji, Taitosoft, scored by Zuntata founder OGR, more formally known as Hisayoshi Ogura, a man who hails from Fukuoka, or the port of Daizaifu as it was known historically. Fukuoka gave birth not only to Mr. Ogura, but also to the Fukuoka 9000, the flagship product of Finger Fitting Products Incorporated. Gagaga no Kitaru, a comic book and black and white animated cartoon from the 1960s, Kitaru of the Graveyard. Yokai Daimakyu. Brought to us by Tosei under Bandai, the original theme song upon which this music was based was composed by Taku Izumi. And before that, we heard from a game called Argus. A soft by Jalico with Nippon Microcomputer Kaihatsu. Kaihatsu means development. Music by none other than the Wonder Boy himself, Shinichi Sakamoto. April 17th, 1986. Things are just hunky-dory. On April 4th, The Riddle of Murasami Castle. Known in the East as Nazo no Murasami-jo. Known only in the East, in fact, until the World Wide Web. Mag Max before that, Mag Max, M-A-G-M-A-X, March 19th. Original music by Ryoichi Yamada for Nihon Busan Co. Limited in collaboration with Fuji Sankei Communications International, otherwise known as FCI. Nichibutsu liquidated all their stuff and sold it to a company called Hamster, which was an offshoot of Toshiba Electric and Musical Industries, which got absorbed into Universal Music Japan. And Universal Music Japan is part of Universal Music Group, UMG, which is the largest music corporation in the world. So, Mag Max is owned by the 1%. This is the music of privilege, people. Untold power. They told you you were playing with power, but did you listen? And are you listening now? If so, congrats, you're halfway through level 2 of FGM Foreground Music, with your host, Dylan Sparrow. We started off our set with Hide-Lied, music quote-unquote composed by Ichi Kato for technology and entertainment software. Now, before we get back into the music, we have to please our sponsors. Professor Abu Salam, mystical African advisor and healer, 20 years experience combining ancestor powers and black magic. He is a love specialist. He can return your loved one in the quickest way. He will solve all your issues, including release from spells, mystical abuse, good and bad luck, court cases, finances and career, gambling, sexual power, ending infidelity. Results in 7 days. Just go straight to 116th Street in beautiful Harlem, New York. By appointment only. And now, you've brought your A game, but it looks like you're still saddled with B wings.
なたに魔法を授けよう。
というわけで新登場のソロモンの鍵、出るぞ隠れキャラがなんと4キュッパ。アクションパズルソロモンの鍵、7月30日新発売。
テクモ
銀河連邦司令メトロイドを破壊せよ。
地底深く広がる迷路要塞に宇宙征服の野望が渦巻く。
行け宇宙戦士サムス。
ファミリーコンピュータディスクカードにアクション&迷路ゲームメトロイド。やればやるほどディスクシステム。
And we're back! You're listening to Foreground Music with Dylan Sparrow. What did we hear? Metroid, composed by Hirokazu Hip Tanaka for Nintendo Research and Development 1 with Intelligent Systems. Valkyrie no Buken before that, The Adventure of Valkyrie, The Legend of the Time Key, music by Hiroyuki Kawada for the Nakamura Amusement Machine Manufacturing Company. On July 30th, Tecmo commissioned Michiharu Hasuya to give us the music for Solomon's Key, Solomon no Kaji. And also on July 30th, Satoko Miyawaki, maiden name Satoko Minami, composed the memorable score for Ganbare Goemon, Karakuri Douchu, the first in a long line by the Konami Corporation. 12 days earlier, Babel no 2 was released, Tower of Babel. Early music by Norio Nakagata for Namco. July 3rd also gave us the game Kanshaku Tamanage Kantarō no Tōkaidō Gojūsan-tsugi, which apparently translates as Firework Thrower Kantaro's 53 Stations of the Tōkaidō, released by a nascent Sunsoft and composed by Naoki Kodaka and or Nobody. On June 13th, Star Soldier was released featuring music by Takeaki Kunimoto, who at the age of 23 was invited to apply for a job at Hudson after he demonstrated a Yamaha CX-11 computer. Talk about a lucky break, huh? He currently plays bass in a D-beat band called Salt Peanuts. Makai Mura! Ghosts and Goblins, another July 13th release. Original score by Ayako Mori. Actually, there's some misunderstanding about the composer credits here that needs to be cleared up once and for all. The Wikipedia page for this game indicates that Harumi Fujita had something to do with the soundtrack, and in her own words, quote, "For Ghosts and Goblins, I knew I had to make a hit soundtrack that would be remembered in gaming history," unquote. Yet, only moments later in the same interview, she admits, quote, "I did not compose for Ghosts and Goblins, but I was responsible for the sound effects," unquote. Now, perhaps something was lost in translation here. But I'm gonna mosey on over to Wikipedia right now, do my civic duty live on the air, and I'm gonna click on edit, and do. Bam! Delete. Sorry, Miss Fujita, but facts are facts. Come at me, bro. This kind of info has trickled down, so to speak, over the ages. Capcom forced their staff to use aliases or even work in total anonymity to avoid corporate headhunting, so who knows? The Famicom port of this game was handled by the dubious Micronix. Before that, on June 6th, we heard from the game Gumshoe, the first US-only game on the platform. No Famicom release. The plot of this game, as I understand it, is Mr. Stevenson, small-time club comedian who wants to be a big somebody. All he needs is an angle. There's no law against wishing you were Humphrey Bogart, but if you advertise for trouble, you may get more than you bargained for. A fat fee from a fat man and a heater that he needs like a hole in the head. It's not his bag at all, but Mr. Stevenson bluffed his way in, and now he has to keep playing. Ever since the Maltese Falcon, Mr. Stevenson wanted to be a gumshoe. Now let's see what kind of bogeyman he really is. The way you play this game is, you place the gun point blank against your TV screen like you're going for a kill shot to the dome, and you repeatedly shoot your own protagonist to paradoxically keep him out of harm's way. Music by Hirokazu Tanaka for Nintendo Research and Development 1, here exemplifying a range of musical influences that would typify his work. Dub reggae, new wave, experimental, electronica, a bit of Katrina and the Waves in there, a bit of Sly and Robbie, the works. And starting off that second block, B-Wings by Data East, music by Azusa Hara, and possibly someone named Hiroaki Yoshida. I don't know, maybe he played the tambourine behind a velvet curtain or something. Well, crapola! Will you look at the time? That's all we've got now. Thank you for listening to Foreground Music, or FGM, because I like to abbreviate things. Kind of makes it sound more hip and with it. Kind of like NKOTB, like North Korean off-track betting and such. Anyway, I have been and will continue to be your host, Dylan Sparrow, so stay tuned for Level 3. You just completed Level 2, and if you have anything you want to e-bark at me, dsparrow2@gmail.com is where to send it.
How should I know?
That's right, Vina. And now for your omake, I'd like to bring your attention back to a composer and programmer named Eiji Kato. He of High Glide fame, a game he programmed at the tender age of 20, and actually just barely 20, because if you look into the code of the game, he leaves this little message. He says his birthday is September 21st, born in 1965, and he admonishes you to buy him a gift. Well, we may have missed his birthday by a few decades, but there's gotta be something we can do for him, right? Instead of petty material gifts, I'm gonna realize his dream, his Sonic dream. So I bring to you Raiders of the Lost Hydlide. Remember, you're always a winner when a winner is you.